Hi, welcome back. Actually thought to start off today's lesson by just doing a small reminder about this whole thing. I started hashtag share my experience to share my experience, basically what it says on the box. And getting to know God was inspired by my journey to read the Bible in a year and stay accountable. So all this is about just sharing my experience. I'm in no way a Bible teacher, far from it. But when I do read the Bible, and like I said, I also follow the Bible Recap, which is a podcast about recapping the Bible. I use all of that to come to my conclusions, which is what I share here. I just thought it important for any new followers because I see there's been a, thank you very much, spike in the views. So just know, like, come with an open heart and an open hand. Like I say, I hold some of the things that I read in the Bible with an open hand, not trying to just decipher it too much. So sometimes it's more questions at first, but then as I pray and the Holy Spirit gives revelation, things become clearer. That said, let's jump into the book of Ezra. So today I'm sharing lessons from Ezra 4-6 and also Psalm 137. Yeah, you thought we were done with Psalms, right? Yeah, this sneaky Psalm wasn't part of them, and I'll explain why. So now the book opens, or this chapter opens, with the Israelites facing opposition for building the temple by the Samaritans. And when I thought about this, it had me immediately thinking that their enmity could have started from this. You know that the Samaritans and the Jews were not friends. I mean, by the time we get to the New Testament, we'll see how Jesus had to go into Samaria to meet the woman by the well to, draw these people back to him. So yesterday, there was a mention of the fact that the exiles had returned and were growing fearful of the people who had settled in their land. And there was that. But then those people now come to offer to help rebuild the temple. And I wonder, could their offer have been genuine? Because don't forget, when the exiles were taken and the people were shipped into the land, they were having problems, i.e. lions were devouring them. And then remember, the king now had to send in priests to teach the people there their ways and how to worship Yahweh. So I was reminded of the fact that these people did know Yahweh. Did they follow? We don't know. And then maybe there were other foreigners who came to settle in the land as well. It's very possible. But then I thought about it. I was like, could Zerubbabel and and the leaders, could their response to saying, no, you can't build it, you have no part with us, could it have been hasty? Would it have been wrong? Could they have handled this a different way? Would it have been a different outcome? Or were the Samaritans really unhappy at the fact that these people have come back to claim their land, which is now our land, because it now made them feel like foreigners? So there are a lot of questions there. I don't know what you think, but then for me, like I said, I'm keeping it with an open mind, and I know that as we read along, more revelation will come. Now, whatever the outcome, they went ahead and wrote a letter. So the letter was, the letter was like, it just screams snitch to me. I'm sorry, like, a little snitchy, they sent with false accusations and playing up to the king's pride, so those letters, and more than one, to sing King Xerxes, I know how to say this name, King Xerxes and Artaxerxes. I hope I got that right. And it worked. Their letters worked, and it halted the construction of the temple. And apparently, the period of halting the temple was about 15 years, and that's a long time. And their enemies were constantly, making efforts to shut down the construction, and the Israelites faced great opposition trying to rebuild this temple because of those people in the land. So I imagine that a lot of things would have gone down for them at that time. Now, the prophets Hagar and Zechariah, who have their own books, which we will read soon, were prophets in the time, and they showed up to the people to encourage them and strengthen them and help them. And as a result of that, Zerubbabel and Jeshua were encouraged and called the people to start work again. And then the governor of the time, named Tatanai, rolls through, and he was questioning their construction, like, hey, who gave you permission to do this? And they say, we are the people of God, this, that, and the other. And then but by this time, obviously, Persia had a new king, because it was no longer Cyrus, it was now Darius, right? And Darius didn't know about the Jews and their, well, I feel like their construction and all that went down during the time of Cyrus. And then, so obviously, when they investigate, actually, the search for those royal archives, or those royal archive decrees by Darius, made me very grateful for modern technology. Today, it should have been on a system. All they would do is control find. But here, it took months for them to go through the archives before they finally found that decree where Cyrus had not only said that they could build, right? It revealed that he also commanded it to be built 6 times larger than it was initially, and the cost was to be paid by the royal treasury. So that governor that came to inspect was the one who had to pay for the Israelites to rebuild their temple. I bet he did not. He wished he didn't go, and he wished he had just turned up that letter. But hey, that is it. So when the temple was built, the Israelites celebrated the Passover at the end of chapter 6. And this was the first time that they were celebrating Passover in 70 years after the exile. How amazing was that? But this was a manifestation of what God had said, because he said they will come back to the land and celebrate Passover. But this Passover was very different. The returned exiles ate with all those who had left pagan practices to follow Yahweh. Yes, Gentiles. So this was the first Passover they were eating, but they didn't do it alone. They did it with outsiders, because they had now been drawn in. I thought that was so amazing. And then obviously we read Psalm 137. Now Psalm 137 came in here because it is Psalm about the exile. So obviously it would be one of the newest Psalms in the Psalms, because it wasn't written during David's time. This was like centuries after David, but it spoke about their experience during the exile, and obviously ended up in bitter notes, because they wanted their exilers, or I don't know if that's a word, obviously, to see justice because of what had been done to them. Now, see what came through to me. God worked out the Israelites' evil plans to thwart their progress, to thwart the progress of the temple. He turned around that construction, that progress. Sorry, he turned around the progress that the enemies had to thwart the construction of the temple. He turned it around for their good, because if the governor didn't go to the king to inquire, they wouldn't have found out that the governor had to foot the bill for them to build the temple. So what came through to me was like, when the enemy cannot frustrate you or get to you, he tries to discourage you. But God takes this lies, the scheming, manipulation, and everything else that the enemy uses to bless his people and to advance his kingdom. And we saw that happen live and direct here. So what are you going through that you feel like is frustrating you or deterring you? Hold on, God is going to take it and turn it around. Thank you for joining me today. Tomorrow I'll be sharing my lessons, and I look forward to seeing you here. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.